We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani. Thank you for tuning in from wherever you are all around the world. As you know, the Couples Academy Show is a place where people hang out to talk about love, life, and relationships. We've been in a series talking about the top complaints, because oftentimes when you've been in a relationship and you feel stuck, when there have been setbacks and disappointments and frustrations, there's a tendency to complain. And you complain out of your frustration because you want things to go right. And so we started this series talking about the things that women complain about, unhappy wives complain about in regards to how their husbands are or are not showing up. And now we're in part 2 of the continuation of that conversation, talking about how unhappy husbands complain about their wives. So I think it's been very helpful. Hopefully you're getting something out of this conversation. We gave you 5 yesterday. We're going to give you 5 more today. But listen, before we get started, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let the people know that we are here. Help grow this community. We want to reach millions of families all over this globe, and you play a major part in doing that. Every time you click subscribe, well, you can only do that one time, but every time you share, you're voting for us and you're letting other people know, hey, there's something you need to pay attention to. And it also helps in the algorithms, because the more engagement, the more interaction we have, then it helps to spread this message out to people who may not be familiar with the program. So doing that really supports. Once again, thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Facebook, and thank you, Instagram. Glad to see that you're here. Make sure you leave a comment so that we can engage with you. Really quickly to Anaya. I always get that name wrong. Sister, you know who you are. Right. Danielle, Ralph, Natural Beauty, LaShawn, Miss Jules, Vashawn, Charmaine, Troy, Valencia, Freddie, good to see you, brother. It's been a minute. Good to see you. Tamika, and on and on and on. We appreciate you for being here. We're going to begin to dive deep into this topic. We're talking about the top complaints that unhappy husbands have with their wives. We're going to jump into the next one, number 6, a continuation from yesterday. Unhappy husbands often complain because there isn't enough appreciation. It seems like there are things that husbands do that go unacknowledged, unappreciated, because the assumption is that's what you're supposed to do. You want a trophy for what you're supposed to do? You want a cookie for what you're supposed to do? You want me to give you praise for what you're supposed to do? And so therefore, they don't get it. And if a husband isn't doing all that he's supposed to do and doing some of what he's supposed to do, the frustration is, well, you doing this, but you still not doing that. So it's more, what's being articulated more is what's not being done than what is being done. And that serves to demotivate him from doing anything at all. And I would say that this is similar to how wives feel when they are not appreciated and under acknowledged for their contribution. And so if you've properly delegated responsibilities, if you determined what the role of the husband and the wife are in the relationship, and you are carrying those things out, just because that's what you're supposed to do doesn't mean that they should go unacknowledged. If you work in a workplace environment, you work for a job, you're on a team, they will tell you that celebration and edification is important to increase the morale of the employee. If you ever want to decrease the morale, have them work hard and don't acknowledge them. Well, the same approach that we have with coworkers and teammates is the same approach that we should have with our spouse. And so let's just say there's a long list of things that he needs to do. One of the ways to get him to be more motivated to do those things that he's not doing is to acknowledge what he is doing. Because when he feels celebrated for what he does do, and then you come with, baby, would you mind doing, or remember when we talked about you doing such and such and such and such? most likely there's more of a probability that he'll delve into those other areas because he feels like he's at least getting something in terms of acknowledgement from you. So this is one of the biggest complaints that men have. It's something to be mindful of. Once again, when there is a complaint about what's not being done, you have to be careful how you deliver that message so that he can ultimately receive it, so that so there can be a change in his behavior. So ladies, wives, do the best you can to take your time to acknowledge, not once, not twice, but regularly. That is what the role is, particularly if you're dealing with an individual who is big on either A, words of affirmation, which is one of the 5 love languages, which fits into the first emotional need that we walk couples through, or 2, did I say A? B, thank you, not 1, 2. B, admiration, to be admired, to be honored, to be respected. Oftentimes that comes in the form of words, celebration, acknowledgement, congratulations, things of that nature. That's big for men, so make sure you take heed to that. Let's go to the next one. In terms of complaints, man, I wish she planned date night once in a while. It seems like oftentimes in relationships, according to this particular article, that men are the initiators of anything that a couple does. So when it comes to dates, he's typically planning the date. He's typically reaching out. He's extending himself. He's making the plans and the efforts to do. And so what they're saying is, it would be nice if every now and then you would plan a date so that I could be pampered and I could be taken care of. It would be nice to show up to a restaurant where the reservation was made by you. It would be nice to get in the car and you get behind the wheel. It would be nice if there was a surprise and I didn't know what I was doing because you put a plan in place to woo me, to date me, to take me out. See, that would be a good thing to do. And when you begin to do it, he feels loved, he feels pursued, he feels as if he still has it. You know, one of the things that I think men struggle with, and it's not on this list, but I can speak to it because I hear it from a lot of men, oftentimes they don't feel desired. All right? Desirability for a woman plummets shortly after I do, but his desire is still on high. So when you're partnered with someone who has less of a desire for you, for whatever the reason may be, oftentimes motherhood plays a role in that. All of the responsibilities that a wife has, all the hats that she's wearing, the last thing on her mind is you. Desiring you. And when I say desiring you, I don't just mean in an intimacy type of way, but desiring time, whatever it may be. And so because they feel like, man, does she even desire me? Am I even attractive? Does she even want to be with me? I mean, she doesn't extend herself. She doesn't pursue. And women, if that's you, if you're the one who does pursue, if you do plan the dates, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those who typically don't. So I would say put it in your rhythm, put it in your routine that you do that. One of the things that Danielle and I do, and we talked about this before, when it comes to date nights, we alternate. Right? So I'm responsible for first and third Tuesdays, because that's our date night. She's responsible for second and fourth Tuesdays. And so either A, it will be a surprise to one another and we don't know, and there's an element of surprise in that, or B, we do know, right? And so it's just like, okay, cool, I can't wait to go, right? And so if I tell her what I'm doing, hey babe, it's Thursday, next Tuesday we're gonna do such and such, that's gonna create anticipation, that's going to create a desire. And if I don't tell her, that's going to create anticipation. That's going to create desire, because it's something that we're reaching towards. There's something that we're looking forward to. And that's critically important so that every day doesn't feel like Groundhog's Day. We don't do anything. We don't dress up. We don't go anywhere. Everything's the same way all the time. We've settled into a state of boredom and monotony. There's nothing fun about that. And so planning a date gets you out of the house. It breaks up the routine. It allows you to show up as your best self. And as I always say, when I go out on a date, I don't take my wife with me. I leave her home. I take my woman with me, same person, different role. If I'm taking my wife with me, I'm taking someone who's responsible to me and for me. Someone who has roles and duties and obligations to serve me and the family. That's who I'm taking out on a date. When I take my woman out on the date, I'm taking someone who's not attached to me in terms of duty, responsibility, and obligation, because I can see her as someone who's separate from me. Someone to pursue, someone to enjoy, someone to woo, someone who I am anticipation of extending myself to. You see the difference? So when you take your man out, not your husband, it's a different dynamic. And sometimes he wants to know, yeah, I know I'm your husband, but am I still your man? Did you get that? You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about the top complaints that unhappy husbands have about their wives. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey folks, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about the top complaints from unhappy husbands. I'm going to read some of these comments in real time. I don't get a chance to kind of read them prior to, so whatever they say, we're going to find out at the same time. Daniel says, ooh, wee. On point, with all types of symbols and all of that going on. Thank you, I appreciate that. Mike Bryan says, Mr. P, you snapped last night. It was hilarious, great topic. Did I snap? I'm trying to think about what we talked about. I snapped, I broke fly, I told it like it was. Well, sometimes we just need that. Jackie says, we have to be intentional. We must wake up every day with service on our minds, because someone out there will try to serve in your place. Leave no room for the enemy. Now, that is an absolute fact, and I will snap on that. I'm going to give you a bomb drop on that one because it deserves it. Let me tell you something. You better do it. Listen, I realize I'm in competition every single day that I wake up. I'm in competition because there's some joker out there that's going to try to get what I got, and I can't allow that. Like, at the end of the day, have you ever been to a restaurant and the food was aight? It was aight. Then you went down the street and found a similar restaurant, and the food was incredible. Not just was the food incredible, but the service, oh my God. The atmosphere, the ambiance, the mood, it was just so much better. And you're like, man, I don't feel like going to that other restaurant. Bump that restaurant. That restaurant will get no more of my money. In fact, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna make it my spot and tell the world about it, because the experience was just that great. Have you ever been to a hotel You got into that hotel room and you're like, it's tight up in here, it's cold in here, these sheets aren't clean, the service is just not right. And then you go to that other hotel down the street. It wasn't a 3-star, it was a 4-star, 5-star, and it was an incredible experience. Well, where are you gonna put your money from that point forward? At that 4-star hotel. And oftentimes we are lackluster in our approach. We give the least of who we are, and we give the world the most of who we are. So the one that we signed up for, the one that we said I do to, our life partner doesn't even get of all of who we are. And it's ridiculous. When you said I do, it came with an expectation that you would be your best self, and we would have the best relationship that we can have. So let us make a decision today to be right, to do right, to show up as our best, so that we can take our lives to the next level. It's just frustrating when you sleeping with somebody, you wake up, you just looking at them like, I just can't believe it. Your friends get more time, your employees get more effort, everybody else gets all of this stuff, and then you come home giving me the least. I get the leftovers. You tired. You don't have time for this. You don't have time for that. Well, do I need to leave, become a stranger, so I can get the best of you? You see the crazy? And so guys, we need to get it together. I got a couple more comments. Kisha says, you're preaching, I can receive that. Well, I'm glad you got it. JD, there is a song by Dwelly, I hope I'm saying that right, that describes that very thing called I'm Cheating on My Girl. Maybe I need to listen to that song. I'm not familiar with that song, but I will definitely check that out. Gonzalez says, great nuggets. Am I still your man as she is still my woman? Leaving the duties home, continue the pursuit of dating and desire one of another. Very, very, very true. Let's go to the next point, guys. We're in a flow now. The next complaint that these unhappy husbands have about their wives: we don't have enough lighthearted conversation. I get scared every time you want to talk. Can we talk? Oh God. Can we talk? What do we... Because I remember the last time we had a conversation, I was told about everything I wasn't doing. I was told about how I wasn't showing up. I was told about all the problems. So every time you say, let's talk, or can we have a conversation, I'm just like, I'm busy. I don't know. I got to mow the lawn, even though it's at night. I got to shovel snow that's not on the ground. I got to do something. I got to get away from here, because I don't want to have these deep conversations that become mentally and emotionally exhausting, that go on for 3, 4, 5 hours. I got to go to work in the morning. It's 3 o'clock. We still talking about this. Then I'm off to work. You still want to talk. You're terror texting me in the middle of my day. Like these conversations. No, I just want something that's lighthearted. I just want to have fun. I just want to laugh. I just want to have a good time. Can we do that? Can we just be conversational? Can we just talk about things that are peripheral to us for a moment? That's what we want. So there's nothing wrong with having these deep conversations. They're necessary. We shouldn't live life by avoidance or issue avoidance, but let's find a balance and a flow. Let's laugh. Let's be lighthearted. Let's enjoy, in addition to having these deep conversations. If we begin to do that, things will begin to shift in our relational dynamic. Remember, there's a difference between your marriage and your relationship. You can be married, but the relationship part, there's just no connection. We're not feeling each other. We don't even enjoy being around each other because these conversations are just too intense. I see Jackie says, terror texting. That's true. You know who you are. You're terror texting. So I'm not even 2 minutes out the door, and you're blowing up my phone. You're FaceTiming me. You're Marco Poloing me. you're whatever these other apps are. You want to be committed or connected to me from the moment I leave the house to the moment I get in the door. And then while I'm at work, you know I'm in meetings. You know I'm with clients. You're terror texting me. What you doing? Why haven't you responded yet? And then you have all these expletives in and it's just like, oh God. Can I breathe? Can I talk? Can I walk? Can I enjoy my day? Now I'm stressed. I'm dealing with I'm telling you folks, be lighthearted. Be lighthearted. You know, if he's walking in with apprehension, if he's walking in with fear, if he always comes home late, well, why is he showing up late? Is he trying to avoid? Engage him in something different. create an environment that is conducive for a healthy dialogue between the two of you, and things will go well. Another comment that says, as a man, I personally like deep conversations. I'm the one to bring them up. My spouse is more reluctant to have those conversations. So, very good point, right? So we never talk about absolutes. Maybe that's the one thing you're missing in your relationship. You're missing that type of deep conversation. But for many, they're looking for the opposite. All right, I got something from Instagram. It says, my husband's exact words, I want things to be easy and not heavy. I finally understood this, where before I thought, hello, we are adults with responsibilities. Don't leave me alone with this. I have to remind myself he's my best friend, not my employee. Wow. That's from Instagram. He's my best friend, not my employee. And so this is why we say there's got to be a balance, folks. Like when you're all the way in one space and you're void of the other, your relationship is missing something. Remember, companions and partners. Companionship is the heartfelt connection. Partnership, duties, roles, and responsibilities. Now, if we just keep it real, I want you to ask yourself the question, are you more partners with your spouse or more companions? Which way is your union leading? Is there more of a responsibility on generating income for the home, managing the finances, the duties and responsibilities of maintaining the home, parenting the children? Is it more task, duty, task, or is it more emotional connection, right? Emotion, sexual fulfillment, the blending of personalities, effective communication. Which way is it going? This is what we're talking about here on the Couples Academy show as we unpack the top complaints of unhappy husbands in their relationships. We'll be right back. We got one more segment to go. Stay right there. Hey everybody, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show, top 10 complaints of unhappy husbands. We've gotten all the way down to number 8. We got 2 to go. Let's dive deep. We aren't romantic anymore. Like, you know what? Here's the reality. Before we got married, oh my God, there was romance. There was connection. We enjoyed each other. We had deep, penetrating, emotionally connected conversations. We would woo each other. We would dress up. We would smell good. We would look good. We would give each other the best of who we are. And then something shifted because we said, you know what? I want a whole lot more of this. So we transitioned from dating to a committed courtship. And then we said we want more. Let's go a little bit deeper. We transitioned from a committed courtship to engagement, right? So now we're engaged, right? We're in high anticipation because we have a date. And that's another side note. Don't get engaged without a date. How many of you have been engaged or know people who have been engaged? You'd be like, oh, congratulations, when you get married. Oh, well, we haven't determined that yet. So now you've been engaged for 7-8 years, waiting for some wedding to come along and then you get frustrated because you're in this season too long. See, you can be in a season for too long and you can outlive the season, side note. So you're engaged, you're in high anticipation of, oh my God, spending the rest of your life with somebody. And so through the dating season, through committed courtship, through engagement, it's very romantic because you're still in pursuit of, right? These are levels and degrees of commitment, but the final ultimate commitment is when you give your vows to someone. But the moment you say, I do, something shifts, and now it's all about duties and roles and responsibilities, and you as a person, your relational dynamic is no longer center stage. It literally flops all the way down in the list of priorities because of all these other things you have to deal with. And so there are many people who have been married, and once they said I do, they stopped dating. Because that was the season. We did that. We don't have time for that. Because now we got kids, and now we got responsibilities, and now we got this work, and now we got this business, and now we got all these other things that we're involved in the we'll get to the relationship. We got the rest of our lives together. And you no longer do what you once did. No more flowers, no more candy, no more, we just talked about date nights. We're not doing the things to keep that connection and that passion alive, which is not romantic. And it plays a toll on your relationship. And listen, I don't know who has the romantic bone in the relationship, but generally speaking, when there is romance, it's initiated and executed by one of the two individuals. It is generally not a mutually exclusive thing because that's just not who I am. I'm not all touchy-feely. I'm not romantic. I don't need all of that. And so because it's not something you value, you don't implement. You don't give the other person what you don't value because it's not important to you. So therefore, it don't need to be or must not be important to your spouse. But it could be the very thing that they've been searching for and longing for and craving for and were in high anticipation about. And that's why they said I do, because they wanted more of the same. Because prior to I do, they got that. You shared that. And then after I do, it's just like, pfft. And so this becomes very discouraging for those who aren't married because they're like, well, good God, if there's no more romance, if there's no more connection, or not to the degree that there once was, what's the point? What in the world am I getting married? What did I sign up for? And so this is why it's important that you and your partner have to come together and have these conversations. Because when you begin to have these conversations, all of a sudden things change. You hear what I'm saying? And so romance, if you're missing it, bring it back. And if you lost it, you lost the art of it. You don't know what to do anymore because you got stuck in this space of we're just existing. Buy a book. Watch some videos, read some articles, 10 things you could do to be more romantic in your marriage, 100 things you can do to pull out the romance in your partner. Whatever it is, you got to go back to school, you got to learn, right? Every single profession that you have, not all of them, but a lot of them, require education. Matter of fact, depending upon your profession, every 3 or 6 months or 12 months, you have to go back. You got to get recertified. You have to have extracurricular or what they call these credits that you have to constantly get to make sure that you're up to date with the new technologies and the new techniques and the new systems. These are the things that you have to do to remain current, to remain relevant, to remain active. Well, you need to do the same thing as it relates to your relationship. And so that's why we take couples through the emotional needs questionnaire, which helps them unpack how are you showing up in this relationship. So romance, bring the romance back in, ladies, because your man needs it. Now, let's go to the last one. This is number 10. We don't have sex anymore. Matter of fact, at all. Now, we talked about yesterday how oftentimes sex is just like, fine, let's go ahead I'm doing you a favor. Appreciate it. You better honor it. Because listen, I'm sacrificing myself for you. That is what we would call duty sex. There's not a delight. It's a duty. It's a chore. It's a responsibility. I'm not getting nothing out of it, but I'm serving you. But then there are other times when you transition into another sexual marital pattern, which is what we call the sexless marriage. Now, by definition, a sexless marriage is a marriage where couples engage in sex anywhere between 1 time a month or as low as 10 times a year, which is less than once a month. Now, that is by definition a sexless marriage. But there are many of you, if we're just being honest, who haven't engaged in intimacy in a long time. For some, it's been a year. For some, it's been 2-3 years. And that can create such a hardship on the relationship. When couples stop touching, it's an indication that something isn't right in the relationship. And so most of the time, though there are physical challenges to some people's, sexual dynamic that really has to be worked out, and there should be a sensitivity to that because, for some people, they're just physical challenges. But overwhelmingly for most people, it's more of an emotional, relational struggle that people are having, and it shows up in the area of their sexuality because they stop having sex. And so this is something worthy of a conversation. And oftentimes when couples have the talk about sex, it is a very hurtful, it is a very stressful, it is a very negative conversation because fingers are being pointed in both directions. There's such a high sensitivity to this particular topic, but it's something that needs to be worked through and restored. Let me tell you something. If your husband has a higher sex drive than you do, it doesn't mean that he's nasty and dirty and filthy and all you do is care about sex. Well, no, not necessarily. Well, maybe. I don't know your husband. But his higher libido doesn't make him bad or make him wrong. It makes him different. You understand? And so this is why it's important that you two take the time to really dive deep into this conversation. Maybe there's an aversion that wife has to sex that she may not even be aware of, or if she does, you're not aware of, or if you are, you don't value what the aversion is. And so this is why this is a conversation that you've got to have again and again and again and again until you experience breakthrough. And sometimes you need people helping to navigate that conversation for the two of you because you tend to get stuck in places that you need not be stuck in. So we talk about the top 5 problems, and you heard us say this 1,000 times, that people have in their relationship. Money, communication, parenting, in-laws, and sex. Sex is one of them, folks. It's one of the top 5 reasons that people experience hardship, struggle, and these are some of the top 5 reasons why people ultimately divorced. It doesn't have to be a prison sentence. You don't have to feel trapped. You can begin to experience an amazing sex life as long as the two of you can get into alignment. And if you can't do it on your own, this is why Couples Academy is here. So this is why we're constantly saying, just reach out to us. And guess what? We're not the only show in town. I think we're one of the best, but we're not the only show. There may be someone, a practitioner, a therapist in your area that is skilled and competent in guiding you through a process that will take your sexual relationship within your marriage to the next level. So whoever they are, find them, seek them out so that life doesn't have to be a bore. Life doesn't have to feel like a trap. Life does not have to be miserable. All the things that you signed up for when you said I do, you can begin to experience them in your marriage if you are intentional. And when you do that, all of a sudden you wind up in a much better place. Listen, guys, we've been talking about the top 10 complaints of unhappy husbands. We hope that you take the time to listen to this conversation, watch it with your spouse, so that things can begin to turn around. Love you guys. Hope you had a great time with us. We will see you in the morning on Friday for another great episode. Take care.